Hey everybody, I'm David, and today I'm going to be talking about Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest, the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie in the franchise. This movie came out back in 2006, hot off the heels of the original Pirates of the Caribbean movie, which came out in 2003, once again based on the popular Disney ride. I'm going to admit this right up that I am actually one of the people that enjoyed the second and third Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I'll get into how much, maybe a little after. The fourth one, I'll get there when I talk about it. Eventually, I want to talk about all these Pirates of the Caribbean movies. But yes, this second of the Pirates of the Caribbean movie is probably my favorite of the films in the franchise. Why? Because I know a lot of people hate it when movies set up things, but sometimes there's setup that can actually get you really excited for what's to come even more. And I felt that this movie really set up everything nicely and had us wondering and getting us pumped up for what was to come in the final installment, or what we thought at the time was going to be the final installment. Let's start off with Johnny Depp as usual. Captain Jack Sparrow is back, and I really like his progression in this film. Where Jack, in the last film, he was the hero in a sense, but he wasn't like the hero like Will Turner was. And I thought this movie was actually building him up to be that confident hero that we kind of wanted a little bit, maybe not too much. From the last film. I think we love Jack Sparrow the way he is, but in a natural progression of a character and where a character should go, it made sense for him to go this way. By the end of the film, you actually see Jack be the hero that he was, that Elizabeth wanted to kind of see him as. Not really because she was just trying to get at something, but that's what I really like about Jack Sparrow. I think putting him front and center actually made the movie really enjoyable for me, because let's face it, Johnny Depp makes these movies. It's him the reason we really love him. And some people will say, well, you know what, maybe he should be done in doses. Maybe that's what made the first movie really good. No, the first movie was really good because we love Captain Jack Sparrow. I mean, Will Turner and Elizabeth were great too, but it was Jack that really made those films what they are. When people think of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, they think of Jack Sparrow. And the other characters are great too, but you can't have a great movie without a great hero and a great villain, which I'll get to a little bit later. Will and Elizabeth are also back in this movie, and it's great having them back. And I feel like Will, or Orlando Bloom as Will Turner, is given actually a little bit more juicier stuff in this movie. There's a little bit more of a comedicness to him too. Whenever I say that, I mean towards the end there's a nice little part where he's acting a little bit drunk. Not drunk, but he was just knocked out, and he just wakes up from during a battle, and the way he flips out of the boat just seemed kind of funny to me. And you wouldn't think of that from the first movie, how Will Turner is this heroic figure. You wouldn't think of him having a little bit of a more wisecrack to him, I guess. But yeah, I actually think Orlando Bloom really shows a little bit more strength as an actor in this movie. And Keira Knightley is always great, and no matter what she does. But I like how strong her character is, and she fits in with the boys really well. She's not that kind of a female character that is there screaming for the guy to come and help her. No, she has her own agenda in this film that she's trying to accomplish, and that's what I really like. Even with the character of Norrington returning, Captain or General Norrington, who from the first movie was supposed to be engaged to Elizabeth. Now he's a drunk, and he's spiraled into something of his own in this movie, and he's going after something that he needs. Every character has something to do in this film, which is what I actually really enjoyed. Even the new characters The villains, which I think Davy Jones stands out really well in this movie, played by Bill Nye. I think he is. I think his name is. You've definitely heard him in many other movies. His voice is so recognizable, and I like what he offers as this character of Davy Jones. He's creepy and he's interesting to look at. I mean, the special effects in this movie are glorious. You, even if you're a hater of this movie, you can't deny how great the special effects look in this movie. I think they even, it's been 10 years already since this movie came out, and I think the special effects still hold up really well. And with Davy Jones, you get an interesting backstory with him that is clearly being set up more in this movie, but pays off, I feel, in the third film. And you want to know more about this character and who he is and how he's connected to this overall story arc that they are building. And it's interesting because when you go back and watch the original film, they actually do name drop Davy Jones, but when you think of the term Davy Jones's locker, you're thinking like the bottom of the sea. And no, Davy Jones's locker, there actually is a chest that's locked, and that's his locker. The locker is his sea. And we get to also meet Lord Beckett, who comes in this movie, and he's after something of his own as well. I'm gonna admit Beckett isn't the greatest villain. He's not that colorful. And maybe if they developed him a little bit more, he would have been a more interesting villain. But he does have his own agenda. And again, it pays off in the third film, which is what the second film, I think, is meant for, to set up what's to come in the third film. But on its own, they do have a plot device, a MacGuffin, if you will. A MacGuffin is usually something that the characters are all looking for in this movie. And I don't want to spoil it because I think that's the big twist in the film, is well, I think it's introduced early on, but just in case you guys haven't seen it, I'll leave it. They are all looking for something, this one thing, by the end of the movie they do eventually find. I will also say that I think Bill Turner, who is Will Turner's father, also was talked about in the original film. We finally get to see that he is actually still alive on the Dutchman, which is the ship controlled by Davy Jones, and he has some interesting interactions with his son in this movie that was really nice to see. We heard about Will Turner's father. We thought he was dead, but again, they mentioned in the last movie that he was shot into he was thrown into Davy Jones's locker, and now we get to see what they were actually talking about. Like, oh, literally, like Davy Jones has a ship where he has all the dead. I guess the people who sold their souls or owed something to Davy Jones, they had to work for him. And Bill Turner is one of those people. So yeah, that's that aspect of the movie, the father aspect, I think was really nice for Will to get acquainted with. And the score, I never talked about the score from the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I love the scores in these films. I think the Pirates of the Caribbean scores are just as great as any other iconic score that you can think of, whether it's the Indiana Jones score or the Star Wars score, Lord of the Rings, or any of those big blockbuster scores that you can think of, specifically with John Williams. And Hans Zimmer has done quite a lot too, including Pirates of the Caribbean. He actually has done the second, third, and fourth Pirates of the Caribbean films. He did the scores for all of them. I was surprised to find out that he didn't do the score for the original film, because the original film also had a great score. So to find out that he started doing the score with this film, you can tell that there's his own little style to it. It is more elevated in this movie. The score, I think, is much more well done. Even though I really love the score from the first movie too, you can feel it feels more theatrical, I guess. I don't know how to put it, but there is something much more bigger in this movie with the score. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I'm just a huge Hans Zimmer fan. But yeah, that's how I feel about the score in this movie. Um, I am going to say that this is a really enjoyable Pirates of the Caribbean film. I love this movie and the story that it tells and the characters that it has. It does get a little slow at times, but not as bad as maybe the next two films that come in the franchise, which I'll get to next time. But I think this is actually the best sequel that Pirates of the Caribbean does. And for me, I feel it's better than the original. I like the original a lot too, but this one I feel really sets up some really great stuff. And by the end of the film, I remember when I saw this in theaters, I got super excited at the little twist at the very end of the movie. They leave you hanging with something, and it gets me all excited for what's to come in the next Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which I don't want to spoil because it's a nice little surprise. If you haven't seen the sequels to Pirates of the Caribbean, check it out. It's a fun ride, just like the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland. I think they're just fun rides to be on, and that's what this movie is. It's a fun popcorn flick. Look, is it clever? I actually think the movie can be a little clever at times, especially what they're setting up to come in the next film. And I know some people I've heard get a little confused with everything, but that's only if you're not paying attention to some of the clues that they're giving out or some of the things that they're setting up. That's just me. I know everybody's going to have a different opinion on this. But yeah, I love the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and the second one I think delivers on everything. I am giving it an 8.5 out of 10. I think that's slightly higher than the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I think the first one I gave an 8 out of 10 to. This one I'm giving an 8.5. I really enjoyed this one a lot. This is my favorite Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So with that being said, guys, I'm ending this here. Comment below and tell me your thoughts on the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie, Dead Man's Chest. And like this video if you agree with me. Subscribe to my channel, especially if you're a huge fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise or many other films. It doesn't have to just be Pirates of the Caribbean, because I do talk about other things, other movies and shows that I love, specifically superhero movies and shows. And with that being said, guys, I'm ending this here. And until next time, take care.